Howdy folks, I'm Fast Fan, furiously fanning fragrant flowers.
I'm Amber.
And here are more fragrant flowers for us to fan. I don't know exactly why we're fanning flowers and not people, but I guess that's the way it goes.
Maybe so the flowers can stay cool.
Maybe. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Cook Meals with Less Flourishes for My Sister-in-Law? I'm a 28-year-old female and I make meals every day for me and my husband to take to work. I enjoy adding my own personal flourish to the meals, usually something like putting toppings in the shape of hearts or drawing cute face on the snacks. It's a fun hobby of mine, and it brings me joy later in the day to open my lunch and see it nicely arranged. A few years ago, my sister-in-law, a 33-year-old female, had to take a lower paying job after an accident left her unable to work a previous one. I began making her meals like I did for my husband and myself, as I knew that she was struggling both financially and emotionally. She lives very close to us, so my husband always just dropped them off on his commute to work. I always added my extra touch to her meals as well, as I enjoyed cooking and I figured that it would be a nice thing to do. However, she called me a few months ago and asked if I could stop making her lunches so bougie. I legitimately thought that she was joking, and to call a heart-shaped piece of seaweed bougie. But, according to her, none of her colleagues at work have such elaborate lunches, and it makes her feel as if she is flaunting her status. She is not paying me for the lunches, and it takes me an extra 10 minutes max to add the fun touch to them. So I was confused on her train of thought. I thought maybe her coworkers were taking her lunch and she didn't want to tell me, but I agreed to make the lunches less fancy because I wanted her to feel comfortable. Since I make the exact same meals for all three of us, I now just don't put the effort into the presentation of one of them. Since my husband drops off his lunches on his way to work, there have been a few times when he accidentally has given her the wrong lunchbox. I have labeled which lunch is not flourished, but in the rush of the commute, there is still the occasional instance of taking the wrong box. My sister-in-law asked me a few days ago if I could just stop making both me and my husband's lunches fancy, due to the risk of her being given the wrong one. I refuse, as it makes me happy to see the extra touch of personality in the food, and I told her that she wouldn't die from one accidental fancy meal, which she was furious at and hung up on me. She has been refusing to talk to me over the past few days, and when I tried to call her to reason, she kept hanging up. She has told my husband that she will only talk to me if I agree to stop making all of our lunches so bougie. I'm still making her lunches every day, and my husband is still dropping them off. And while my husband agrees with me that her demand was out of order, he now has said that maybe I should just make all of the food less flourished so that she will not be angry if there is an accidental swap of lunches. I know that it would be easy on me just not to flourish the food, but I don't want to give up my hobby for a theoretical chance of her being given the wrong box. Am I the jerk for refusing? Edit, this is out of character for my sister-in-law. She is usually very sweet and considerate. She watches my daughter for free and has never been so reactionary about lunch before. I'm unsure about completely stop giving her lunches due to one issue where she is normally so kind. I'll provide an update when I talk with her and my husband. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, I think OP was right to stop adding the flourishes to her meal, but it's not fair to expect OP not to flourish her own lunch just because sister-in-law might. I mean, it seems like sister-in-law is not even going to get OP's lunch. OP sets hers aside. So at a very minimum, OP should be able to flourish her lunch without issue. It does seem like this is one of those, there's a bigger issue going on here because this is a very strange reaction to flourished lunch. But I don't think OP should have to stop flourishing them. You know, there are a few potential things. One, she could check when she gets her lunch every morning.
Yeah.
And if it sounds like the flourishes could easily be removed, so if there's like a heart-shaped piece of cheese or something, she could just take it off. Two, she could have like a color-coded lunch bag so they can't get confused. Like there are ways to do this where OP still gets to do her flourishes and sister-in-law doesn't have to worry.
Yeah, I think that it should be one on the sister-in-law to ensure that she actually gets the right lunch, right? I mean, I understand that things are a rush, but if this is so important to her, then maybe she needs a check to make sure that it isn't flourished. And two, just get a lunch pail for her that is a different color, like what Amber is suggesting, right? And then that way she is going to have one lunch that she's always going to have one lunch that she knows is always hers. And then I think that is going to solve the problem. I mean, I think that that's going to really reduce the friction in this situation. I understand if she's being harassed or tormented at work. Maybe she has coworkers who are teasing her because of her lunch. Maybe there's like a class divide here, and the coworkers are really classist, and they're like, you and your fancy lunches type of thing, right? So it could just be one of these situations where she's getting already is having a hard time fitting in, whether it's because of her disability or it's because of her, past employment. And now this whole situation is kind of getting worse for her because like her coworkers, see her with these fancy lunches and, make fun of her. And so she can't fit in even more. But I do think that OP should sit down and talk with her. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Pretending to Throw Out My Girlfriend's Blanket? Throw away because my girlfriend knows my main account. I'm a 26-year-old male, and my girlfriend, a 24-year-old female, have been together for 6 months now. She is a bit quirky, but I decided to take her to introduce her to my parents. Since they live a few hours away, we decided to stay there for a couple of days. Before leaving for the trip, I asked my girlfriend, I'll call her Sam, fake name, duh, if she could take and leave her blanket at home. Backstory on the blanket is that she has had it since she was a kid and claims that she can't sleep well without it. She said that she would leave it at home, but in a way that made me feel guilty, so I caved and I told her to bring it. Well, fast forward to us staying at my parents' house, and of course she brings the blanket. My mom ended up having to grab something out of the room and saw the blanket. When my girlfriend went to the bathroom, my mom asked about it, and I explained the situation to her. She and my dad both made a face, so I could tell that they found it weird too. A few days ago, during our trip, I decided to take her blanket and throw it in the trunk of my car. When she noticed that it was missing, she asked me about it, and I told her that I had thrown it out. She looked devastated and began to silently cry. After a while, she started throwing things into her bag, and when I asked her where she was going, she said home. I figured that it was because of the blanket, and I said, the whole blanket seriously is more important to you than making a good impression with my parents. She said yes, and made her way outside where a taxi was waiting. I ended up giving her the blanket before she left, but she took it from me rather harshly. I asked her if she was still leaving, and she said yes. I figured that she was taking the taxi home. And so I said, you're seriously taking a taxi home over this? That's going to cost $1,000. Her response was, no, I'm taking a taxi to the train station because unlike you, I'm not dumb. Which was very rude. When I explained what happened to my parents, they said that I was a jerk for doing that. I don't think that I was in the wrong because I technically didn't do anything. It's been 3 days and I haven't heard from her since. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Is OP still have a girlfriend?
No, I don't think so. And I think OP was definitely a jerk here. And this whole I didn't do anything. You made her think that you had thrown out one of her most prized possessions. Like, sure, you didn't actually do it, but your motives here are not good or wholesome in any way, shape, or form. You're so concerned about making a good impression on your parents, you're willing to hide a possession that is super important to your partner and helps her sleep.
Yeah, and I mean, what was the point? And why did you need to teach her or something like that? Because it feels like you were trying to show her that the blanket wasn't important or something like that, right? What did OP actually feel like the end goal was going to be here when he hid the blanket?
Right. Well, I think it was to like make her stop using it so then she'd look normal to his parents,
Yeah.
which one, his mom should not have gone to their room to begin with. If she needed something from that, she should have asked them to retrieve it, but they should be able to have privacy in the house they're staying in.
Well, I mean, they could have asked, right? And she could have asked, and we don't know that situation. But I do agree with you that they do need to ask before going into the room.
Two, like what kind of a person then goes and like comments on things in the guest room? Like you walk into someone's room to get something, as long as it's not like, blood stains and like stabby knives and stuff all over the place. Like there might be, so I just want to say like there may be times and place to ask questions, but a blanket, like that's not polite to then be like, why does she have a blanket and start making weird faces about it?
Yeah, I think them making weird faces, at that point in time, the boyfriend should have stepped in and just, said, look, this is her blanket. This is the thing that gives her comfort. This is none of your business type of thing, right?
Right. Like if you're going to be someone's partner, then you need to accept them harmless quirks and all. So, like, a blanket is not the kind of thing that, like, you should have to hide or, should be upset about defending your partner about.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like, this is, like you said, a harmless thing. And this is, it seems like to me, just from his perspective, is that he likes to have a quirky girlfriend as long as she's not too quirky, right? And that's a real shame. You should accept your partner for who they are and all their quirks. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Demons says, you're the jerk. As a matter of fact, you're not only the jerk, but you're dumb and single. You don't have to worry about your girlfriend finding this post, as I don't think you have a girlfriend anymore. Where exactly did you think that this was a good idea to steal and hide one of the most important things in your ex's life and lie about throwing it away? You did know that it was so important, otherwise you wouldn't have hid it in your trunk, but you would have thrown it out. And OP replies, I didn't throw it out because I'm not a monster. I just wanted to prove a point that she didn't need it all the time. And Discipline Prize 3172 says, serious question. Why did you want to prove this to her? And OP replies, because it's weird and she's being a child.
I'm glad she dumped him.
And Miss Nikki L says, you're the jerk. What on earth made you think that it was your place to even pretend to throw away something that she obviously values? Would you try to throw away jewelry that she has an emotional attachment to? Time to do some growing up. Also, welcome to the singles life again. And OP replies, jewelry is different. That's something normal for adults to have around. A blanket isn't normal for an adult to have around. That's right, folks. OP sleeps on a bed of nails and uses steel wool as his blanket.
Yeah, you'd better all throw out your blankets before you can be caught with them. Like, just the absurdity here. Like, first of all, normal is subjective. There's no, like, one standard for every human being has to be this way.
I beg to differ. I believe I'm the most normal.
Of course you are. And then, like, so it's just such a really unfortunate thing that he's judging her for having a blanket. Like, lots of people have security blankets or stuffed animals. It's normal. It's healthy. If it helps you sleep, then that's good.
Alright, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Buying My Girlfriend a Burger? I'm a 23-year-old male, and my girlfriend is Angela, a 21-year-old female. We are both foodies, and we love getting ourselves food from various restaurants to try. Our favorite food is burgers, and we have several burger places around us where we get our food. I bought us some burgers for lunch. Myself a mac and cheese burger, and her a regular burger. I gave her burger, and she got really upset. She threw a fit because I didn't ask them to remove the pickles or mayo. I knew she didn't really like these, but I don't really like making restaurant workers adapt on how they usually make their food, so I usually tell her to eat around it or take the pickles off and wipe off the mayo with a napkin. I hate the mayo too, but I don't ask them to take it off because I don't want to make their jobs harder. But despite me giving her solutions, she says that she can still taste the pickles and mayo. I know that Angela is ridiculously picky, but it's kind of neurotic, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, she's really upset with me now, and my friends are calling me a jerk. I feel like it's kind of a silly thing to expect everyone to be upset at me for, but I figured that I would get some outside opinions. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think?
Yes, you're the jerk. First of all, I think Opie is grossly informed about how most burgers are made. Like, since people have a lot of different preferences for toppings, usually if you ask them not to put like mayo or pickles on, they'll make the burger without it. They're not going to like wipe the mayo off the burger after it's already made.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a really strange thing because restaurants, that it's just what it is, right? If you can always ask for them not to put stuff on a burger, right? It's when you ask for extra toppings or other things that are way outside of the norm that it becomes a pain for them to make a burger. So like say if you wanted mushrooms on it or something like that, and it'd be like, oh, can you throw like some caramelized onions and then some, fried mushrooms on it too, right? Then that becomes
Right.
like an extra thing for them to do.
Right, but just asking them not to put pickles on is not taking them extra effort,
No, it's less effort.
Yeah.
They probably would be like, fine, this is less effort for me.
And it's a request they get all the time because there are tons of people who don't like pickles or mayo or what have you.
Yeah, I just feel like OP needs to grow a spine and learn how to talk to people. And I'm saying not like demanding, but be
Hmm.
polite about it. Be like, hey, can you hold the pickles and mayo, right?
Right, because it's not quote unquote neurotic or ridiculously picky to not want foods you don't like on your burger.
Yeah.
And like, you definitely can taste pickle or mayo residue on these foods, and so it would benefit both of them if he can learn how to ask for it because he doesn't like mayo either. It will
Yeah.
make his life better if he can be like, by the way, can you hold the mayo?
Yeah. Might feel weird at first if you're not used to doing it, but eventually, if you do it often enough, it's not going to be a big deal, and no one is going to bat an eye about it. It's not rude, it's not impolite, it's just how the service industry works. But let me know what you folks think. So, anyhow, take care and good luck. And Best Bob Ever says, you're the jerk. It isn't hard at all to ask for no mayo or pickles on a burger. I guarantee you that the restaurant is used to that. Personally, I love pickles, but pickles have a strong flavor and will absolutely taint the food items that they are on. So if someone doesn't like them, eating around them or wiping them off isn't going to help. You aren't giving her serious solutions. You are telling her just to deal with your inability to order food like an adult. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
The vacationer paid his hotel bill, then yelled to the bellboy, "Please hurry! Run up to room 1026 and see if I left my briefcase and overcoat. Hurry, please, I've just got 6 minutes to make my plane." 4 minutes later, the bellboy came back, terribly out of breath. "Yes, sir," he reported. "They're up there."
That wasn't too bad either. I mean, that was I mean, maybe I have gone soft on Jovial Bobstein. The last 2 days of jokes haven't been too bad.
Maybe it's an acquired taste.
Maybe it's an acquired taste, like pickles and mayo. And I have Mega Mint. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Manic Monday, folks. I hope your Monday is off to a manic start. Or not too manic. I don't know. You decide. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on unreasonable requests. Or reasonable requests.
It's important to know the difference between reasonable and unreasonable requests.
It sure is. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye. For cooking bougie, I don't think you need the width there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe I'll help this anyways.